Hey everybody, good morning. I'm back. It's Robert Phoenix, 9:15 here in the lovely Texas Hill Country. Hold on one second. There's some competing noise here. My mother is touting the. She is touting the. I'm going to say this. She's touting the fine qualities of being in a state where there's no lockdown. To her brother, who lives in New Jersey. So that's what's happening in the other room. Good morning, everybody. What's happening? Let's see who we got here. T. Jordan, what's going on? Michael Pafford. Greetings from the land of masks and face shields. I'm trying to connect that with a Led Zeppelin song. The land let's see. Craig Corporal, at least I'll catch the live this morning. Nice to see you, Craig. There he is, DJ MC Michael in the house. Natalie Remington, good morning. Ashanti Edwards, good morning. Robert for the other day and learned all 360 were channeled and recorded in one day. Yeah, that's with Elsie Wheeler and Mark Edmund Jones. And it was done at Balboa Park in San Diego in Mark Edmund Jones's car because Elsie Wheeler was, I think, slightly wheelchair bound. And that's where it all went down at Balboa Park. Susie Escobar is here. Hello, Susie. Nicholas Grimm, Lisa Marie, Tori Ammerheim. Nice to see you, Tori. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Let's see who else here. CC Jones is here. Agent H21 reporting for duty. Dave Sullivan. Welcome, Dave, to the proceedings. Let's see. Laura D is here. Oh yeah, the Biden the Biden Zoom meeting. We're going to talk about that. That was quite interesting. I'm going to try to play a few excerpts from that today. I have some thoughts on it. Laura D is here. Natasha, good morning. Michelle Taylor and I were hanging on Twitter this morning a little bit. Indirectly. Shannon Jones, what's going on? The lovely Danica Rose is here. The lovely and talented Joan S. Thor at the door. My man Steve, what's going on? The cheeky one, Amy. Hello, Amy. My screen is black, but I can hear Robert. Anyone else? Okay, she fixed it. Good. Not blacked out. Jennifer Fitzgerald. My man Ziggy from the Messerschmitt Factory 19F. Blue Oyster Cult did a song about the Messerschmitt fighter. One of my favorite songs as a kid growing up. Ursula Hauser. Ursula, I sent you an email. I hope you got it. Let's see. Mary Black is here, checking in from Arkansas. Hey, David Olmstead, 2 days in a row. What's going on, David? Good to see you. Pam Jerome from Michigan is here. Ilana, greetings back. Aquarius Rising here. Hello, Aquarius Rising. The mayor's in town. Tea time with Ticia, the Super Virgo. Gucci the Goats. Gucci the Goats is here. Checking in. Who did I miss? Renee. Good morning, Renee. Victoria V. 1-0 Dragon. Let's see. Anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody else? Did I say hi to Nicholas? Good morning, Nicholas. I think we're pretty much caught up. Pretty much Tanya Lynn, Mary Grether. Good. I'm glad you got it. Mimi. Hello, Mimi. And there's Mary Olmstead, part of the dynamic Olmstead duo. I think we're all really present, ready, and accounted for, at least for now. More are always welcome to participate. So, okay, where do we start today? How about well, first of all, let me find the those Folkers were Messerschmitts. That's funny, Maury. You're showing your age there, but I understand. So I guess I'm showing mine as well. Here's Andy McIntosh. Hello, Andy. Jazz freak in the house. We love our jazz freaks. Those halcyon days when BOC didn't meet Boards of Canada. Oh my God, you are so funny. You are so funny. Doesn't BOC, Boards of Canada, have a track called Halcyon? I bet they do. I bet they do. J&P Love in the house. Hello, J&P. So did you do that on purpose, Iggy? Halcyon Days? Because I think there is a song called Halcyon by Boards of Canada. By the way, I really like Boards of Canada. They're mesmerizing. Living Gunk. I'll wait 10 years until I get the vaccine. Time will tell. Yes, you will wait 10 years because you will be here 10 years from now. There she is, Scrubbies. That's Orbital, I believe. Thank you. I knew there was an electronic act that had a track called Halcyon. It is Orbital. I interviewed the Hartnell brothers one time. They were actually very nice. I liked them a lot. They were enjoyable blokes to hang out with. I do enjoy a little Orbital myself. Let's see. Yeah, BOC Blue Oyster Cult, first concert I ever saw. The first concert I ever saw, Blue Oyster Cult. And the original lineup for Journey opened for them. That was pre-Steve Perry, which, by the way, I'm I'm on the record. I don't dig Steve Perry Journey. I don't. I know that I'm in the minority on this one because everybody loves Journey. But the problem with the first Journey records, I've got my magic wand today. Thank you, Joe Mama. The problem with the first Journey records was the production, especially the second record, because there were some just really kicking tunes like on a Saturday night, and everything is muffled and compressed. It's like Wally Heider, he should have done a better job at the controls. But Journey, that was actually technically the first band without Steve Perry that I saw, and then Blue Oyster Cult came on and just killed it, man. Killed it. That's when I actually had a copy of On Your Feet or On Your Knees, which was a very underrated live record, by the way. And what's interesting about Blue Oyster Cult is I think Patti Smith was having a relationship with Alan Lanier, who is the synth player from Blue Oyster Cult, and she wrote a number of their songs, which is pretty cool. She wrote a song, I think, called Harvester of Eyes. So Patti Smith checking in on those first BOC records. And synchronistically and ironically enough, Blue Oyster Cult was also my son's first live concert. That happened. That's true. And that took place many years later at the Santa Cruz County Fairgrounds. Remember the good old days of county fairs? Remember those good old county fairs? Whatever happened to those county fairs? Don't Fear the Reaper is great. Blue Oyster Cult really evolved tremendously. You go back and you listen to the early records, which I think are pretty interesting, but you get to like Agents of Fortune and the production is like way better. They're not trying to just, crush you with three guitars. They're one of the first bands, I think, to come out with three guitars. And the lead guitarist had one of the best names ever, Buck Dharma. Buck Dharma. And he wasn't just on lead guitar, he was on stun guitar. Stun guitar. And of course, they would go by the name of Soft White Underbelly, which was their very first name. And they would tour under that name. If you didn't know who Soft White Underbelly was, and Soft White Underbelly showed up at a club that would hold less than 300 people, you would miss out on seeing Blue Oyster Cult in a very small venue. Let's see what we got here. What do we have? Masaki is my new favorite DJ. Masaki is a man of many talents. He is a Renaissance man. Speaking of Renaissance man, Frank Bry's here. Let's see. What else? Who else do we have? The apocalypse is upon us. Run, run, run. That's a JoJo Gunn song, by the way. Quite good. Morning, no dancing. Most Barry boys never got behind Perry. I think a few Barry boys got behind Perry. Pun, maybe not intended or intended. No, I think Steve Perry was straight. He had problems with women, though. And he alluded, by the way, Steve Perry alluded to being sexually abused as a child. If you get into the Steve Perry story, it is not a pretty story. By the way, there was a singer that they had very briefly in between Greg Raleigh, who did most of the singing, and Steve Perry. And he's so insignificant, I forget his name. Let's see. I can't trust those 70 single word American bands. I know, right? I know. There's something to it. Styx. I was never a Styx fan. Dennis DeYoung was like a poor man's Americanized version of Freddie Mercury. You could tell that he kind of wanted to be Freddie Mercury. They both have that kind of operatic Gilbert and Sullivan thing going on. But Tommy Shaw, a good guitar player. So Styx, Kansas. I was not a Kansas fan. They were also a very hard band to look at. I'm sorry. That was a Video Killed the Radio Stars band. Point of No Return, not a bad tune. Dust in the Wind, I've heard that song so many times. I can't, it's like, I can't listen to it. But you're right about the single, although I would throw REO Speedwagon into that mix, and they have two names. Not a huge fan. Although Down by the Dam is a pretty good tune. Let's see what else we have here. Keep on Rolling. I actually like Keep on Rolling. That's a very uplifting and positive song. I like that song. That is a very positive and uplifting song. Not a band I've ever seen live, by the way. Let's see. What else do we have? Any Bonnie Prince Billy fans? Bonnie Prince Billy. Are we talking about Paul McCartney or Billy Idol? Oh, crush on Tommy Shaw. Tommy Shaw, you know that Tommy Shaw really didn't want to be in Styx. Like, you can tell Tommy Shaw was in Styx because it was a cash cow. But every chance he got, he was like doing something else. Playing with Ted Nugent, damn Yankees. You know, he was off like, I want to do something else. But Styx was the slot machine. And it was coming up, golden nuggets for Tommy Shaw and Styx. Poco. Not a Poco fan. That's another one-name American band. The first Kansas LP is Feral. Black Oak, Arkansas. Now, there is a damn good American band. And Black Oak, Arkansas changed my life as well. The first time I heard Jim Dandy to the Rescue, I'm like all on board. I was on board. And by the way, David Lee Roth patterned himself just a little bit after Jim Dandy Mangrum. David Lee Roth had a little Jim Dandy in him. And of course, he called himself Dandy Dave, didn't he? But there was already a Jim Dandy. Was John Podesta the father of Chester from the... Well, we've talked about that. Sure looks like it, doesn't it? I mean, they look a lot alike. You know, that gets into the whole elite thing with children, which we talked about with the Bidens. REO Speedwagon only knew 3 chords, but they were the best 3 chords they could ever know. What about Kites by Simon Dupree and Big Sound? I don't know about Kites by Simon Dupree and Big Sound. I'm going to have to listen to that. But it is not a one-word band. I saw a great Tommy Shaw jam with John Hall. Oh, interesting. Eagle, Chicago, Foreigner, America. I know, right? You like tapped into something. You really, really tapped into something. Is there an American band Okay, I got the pattern breaker on this one. Montrose. Montrose had one name named after Ronnie Montrose, and the first Montrose record to me is hands down, bar none, probably one of the top 10 hard rock records, maybe top 5 hard rock records of all time. So Montrose breaks the pattern. Santana kind of breaks the pattern. Santana kind of breaks the pattern. There are many iterations and incarnations of Santana, and some of them are really good. And they were way ahead of their time, man. Like you listen to Santana circa 1969, Woodstock, Soul Sacrifice, that is one badass tune, right? Toto, not a fan. Overproduced. War was a good band. War is an interesting story because they start off with Eric Burdon. And it's like Eric Burdon leaves the Animals. That's a 2-word name, the Animals. So Eric Burdon leaves the Animals, and all of a sudden he shows up with these guys from L.A. And they play some pretty gritty music and Spill the Wine, and a few other tunes. And then he leaves. It's like he's there for maybe one record with War, I think, maybe 2 at the most. I don't know. And then they go on to create some really interesting music. Like War is gritty. You know, you listen to Sly and the Family Stone, which is really upbeat and, you know, dance to the music and take you higher. Like War gets into some shit. Like The World is a Ghetto. You know, it's really, that's, you know, War is pretty powerful. That was a pretty powerful group. Malo, a one-word band. Suavecito, a very cool song by Malo, but they were also a one-hit wonder. And then there was the Native American band, I believe Blackfoot, who had a one-hit wonder song. Not a bad band. Not bad. They were okay. I wouldn't put them in the same camp as the other one-word American bands. Now, in England, the one-word band that you have, which, by the way, this band actually relocated to America, and actually their biggest hit record had to do with America. Breakfast in America. That was Supertramp. That's a one-word name band. Redbone. My bad, not Blackfoot. Thank you, Redbone. Blackfoot was another Native American group. Redbone. Was that Come and Get Your Love or something? What was their tune? Santana, interesting group. Very interesting band. And they had a lot of, I think, like I said, Soul Sacrifice. They were way ahead. They were way ahead of everybody. They were doing stuff that was like, and by the way, Neil Schon played guitar in Santana, would go on to play guitar for Journey. And Michael Shreve was the drummer for Santana. I think Neil Schon was actually younger, believe it or not, than Michael Shreve. Witch Queen of New Orleans is my favorite Redbone song. We got some Redbone fans in the audience. Supertramp are an honorary trash American 70s band. All right. Seeger, we're on the same wavelength. That doesn't surprise me. Deep Purple's an interesting group because there are songs that Deep Purple just knock out of the park. They just knock them out of the park. And then there is like a deep catalog of Drek with Deep Purple. Like when Deep Purple was really good, when they were good, they were really good. And when they were bad, they were awful. They were really awful. And they were talented musicians. John Lord kills it on Highway Star. The keyboards on Highway Star are off the charts. And then they did that record. They did that one record with Tommy Bolin replacing Richie Blackmore. And they got David Foster to produce the record called Come Taste the Band. And it was like, no, thank you. That taste was really bad. I'm going to spit it out. And that was the only time that they employed David Foster and Tommy Bolin. Dio, there's a one word. Dio's in a, but I think that's kind of after his name. Maybe that doesn't count. Because it's after his name. Argent, Australian band, one word. Again, named after the lead singer, Rod Argent. I'm not sure that counts. The sensational Alex Harvey Band. Now you are crate digging. Now you are crate digging. There was a time when Cream, whoever Alex Harvey's publicist was, because when I was a kid, I'd read Cream and Circus. Whoever Alex Harvey's publicist was, they did an amazing job because he was always in Cream and Circus. It was like the sensational Alex Harvey Band. I'm like, what is this? Who is this? Why are they always in this magazine? They must be great. And then I bought one of their records, and I was, how shall we say, completely underwhelmed. They weren't that sensational. There was a little too much hype. America. There's that one name American band. Foreigner. Yeah. Well, guess what? They had an American lead singer, Lou Gramm. Foreigner's an interesting band. They're an interesting band. Like by the time they get to that number 4, that was actually a pretty good record. That was a pretty good record. I have to say. That was they had the guy from who was it? The sax player. Junior, what's his name? Junior Walker. The sax player on Nervous. Emergency. That was great. Traffic. Oh, you bring up a very interesting. Well, you get Traffic and you get Cream. Right. What are your thoughts on Cream? What I was kind of into Cream as a kid, growing up a little bit. I got White Room and all that stuff, Swell Bar and Cream. The Cowsills were amazing. The Cowsills, I think, are an incredibly underrated group. When you get into the Cowsills story, it is fascinating. It almost reads like an MK Ultra American pop band. Like it's weird. It's really, really weird. But they are incredibly talented. I love the Cowsills. Traffic, I'm a Traffic fan. Have to say. Low Spark live version, Low Spark and the High Heel Boys from Traffic on the Road. Bang on. Yeah. Let's see, the Rascals. The Cranberries. Okay. You got the Cranberries, and then there's the Raspberries with Eric Carmen. And the Raspberries were a very underrated power pop band. The Guess Who are very good. Very, very highly underrated band. Very underrated group. Like Burton Cummings, great singer, very soulful, very underrated group. Probably, I would say, the best Canadian band of all time. And here comes your one-word Canadian band, Rush. Steppenwolf. Yes. But you know what's interesting about Steppenwolf? Like, okay, so since we're on this, it seems like the one-word bands from like the late 60s are different than the one-word bands from the 70s. Because you can go, and I think Traffic comes on the scene, around 71 or something like that, after Blind Faith falls apart. But the one-word bands from the 60s are different than the one-word bands from the 70s. That's what I think. So Steppenwolf, one-word band, 3-hit wonder. That's it. You can only name, I think, 3 songs by Steppenwolf. And I think all 3 of them are in Easy Rider. BTO, Bachman Turner Overdrive, they were very good. The first Bachman Turner Overdrive record, it's fantastic. And I think they come out of the Guess Who, don't they? Hawkwind. Oh, Hawkwind. Now there's some interesting. That's an interesting group, Hawkwind. The ever-evolving lineup of Hawkwind. Rush. I saw Rush one time. and another one-word band opened for them. The other one-word band was better, I have to say. The other one-word band that opened for them was UFO, with Michael Schenker on guitar. They kicked Rush's ass all over the stage that night. Wasn't even close. Now, okay, one-word band, Kiss. There we go. People will divide Kiss. They'll be divided on Kiss. Most people hate Kiss. I'm not really a fan, but for a brief period of time, in my rebellious youth, Kiss Alive was getting a lot of airplay in my life. Martha and the Muffins. Oh, Tesla. There was a period where I kind of got off the heavy metal train. And Tesla comes around just, right after that period. You've got bands like Iron Maiden. Like, I know a lot of people really like Iron Maiden. I never got Iron Maiden. I never got them. And I know they're if I sat down and listened to music, I thought they'd probably be pretty interesting. But I never got into my Iron Maiden. I didn't get into Def Leppard. Like, when all that stuff was happening, Dawkins, all those bands, I was like, I was off that bus. Not to say that there isn't anything. Like, I actually think Def Leppard's kind of interesting. Like, Def Leppard and Mutt Lange figured it out. They figured it out. They're like, we're gonna really clean this sound up. We got a really, cute, handsome lead singer. We're gonna look great on MTV, and we're gonna have like just kick-ass, raunchy tunes and ballads and in-your-face rock, and make a shit ton of money. And that's exactly what they did. Nirvana, one word. Now we're into the 90s one-word band names. And that's a whole different discussion. Iron Maiden. See, now there you go. We have Iron Maiden fans here. And I've listened to Iron Maiden and I've watched their videos, and I'm not there. And I don't know why. And I know that they're good. A lot of people tell me they're really good. Their album covers are very interesting, but that was not my thing. Metallica was never my thing either. I didn't like Metallica. I didn't like them when they were speed metal. I didn't like them when they were sludge metal. Not my thing. I like a little harmony in my music. The Skids were very good. I like the Skids. Alice in Chains. Poor Lane Staley. I had an interesting conversation with a stripper in Vegas one night about Lane Staley. We talked about Styx. Oh my God, Sigurd, you're killing me. He says Def Leppard are quite armless, really. Oh my God. Heart. Okay, here we go. Heart. There's the band that's going to bring up some interesting conversation. Heart. Barracuda was a pretty cool tune. I have to say, it's a pretty cool tune. My favorite Heart song of all time, though, is These Dreams. I really like that song a lot. Man of War. Now we're getting into some kind of obscure metal. Man of War, the lead guitarist of Man of War, was a guy by the name of Ross the Boss. And Ross the Boss was the guitarist for probably my favorite band until the Sex Pistols dropped into my life. As a teenager, post Montrose, the Dictators. I was a huge Dictators fan. They were very funny, and they were very talented musicians. They were only held back by Sandy Pearlman's production. So he was the lead guitarist, Ross the Boss. Funicello, that's what he went by in that band. Then he went on to become the guitarist for a band called Shakin' Street, which was a French band, and the lead singer was this woman, Sylvie, I forget what her last name was. I actually saw that band at the Mabuhay Gardens. Let me tell you, they were phenomenal. And then you go and buy the record, again, produced by Sandy Pearlman. It was garbage. The Damned are incredible. The Damned are one of, I think, one of the greatest underrated bands of all time. They're phenomenal. Musicianship. They and the Saints are really the first theoretical punk rock groups. I mean, you could say maybe MC5 or the Stooges or the Velvet Underground, the Ramones maybe, but I really feel like it's the Saints. Stranded. That's a great song. Great song. Little Feat, underrated band, very good band. Lil George was kind of a genius, and the musicians or Little Feat were phenomenal. Coldplay. Ugh. Oh no Coldplay. Sorry. Sandy Pearlman. Yeah, BOC. Here you go. You're on it. Eurythmics. Wasn't it the Eurythmics at one point? I think it was the Eurythmics at one point. Or maybe it was the Tourists. That was the first band that they started, which became the Eurythmics. I know you guys are great, man. You guys are awesome. Radiohead. Very good group. Very, very good group. The documentary they did is really bizarre. Like it is probably the most. They did tour Japan, and they did this documentary. And maybe it wasn't just Japan. Maybe it's like around the world. But they spent time in Japan in this concert tour video. It is probably the most. How would I say? Disembodied documentary I've ever seen. Like I watched that video, and I knew at the end I knew nothing about them, except that they were all very distant. Maybe borderline Asperger's, and that's about it. I walked away from that documentary that was interesting, but I really didn't learn anything about these people. And maybe that was the point. Jesus and Mary Chain, phenomenal. And then you had the two brothers who hated each other's guts. Great story. Great band. Spice Girls. Okay, the Babies. We'll get to the stimulus. This is more fun to talk about than the fucking stimulus package. The Babies were really good. I saw the Babies open for Alice Cooper. Yep. John Waite was the lead singer of the Babies, and he would go on to, have a lot of hit records. Big time hit records. Jonathan Cain, the keyboard player of the Babies, would later join Journey and then would later marry, what's her name? Paula White, who is the born-again Christian evangelist who is about 3 strong exhalations away from Donald Trump at all times. So Jonathan Cain became Mr. Paula White. Prince, no, there's no comparison. Prince was in a league of his own. Devo. Oh, there's a one-word band. Very good band, by the way. Highly influenced by Kraftwerk. Turtles, the Turtles. Again, very underrated. You guys are awesome. Enigma. I liked Enigma. Hello, Michael R. Pink Floyd. Well, they're massive. What can you say about Pink Floyd? Except that they're better together than apart. I think one of them died, right? Didn't the drummer die? I think the drummer is dead. Prince counts as a band for sure. Prince is a band. He's a person. It's his name. So one word says it all. Prince. Although there are times where, like, not everything Prince did was great. And I know that sounds sacrilegious. But he was so talented. He could just knock shit out. Like, not everything was great. You go back and listen to some of those tracks on, like, Around the World in a Day, and some of them, like, you needed a better filter here. Not everything Prince did was great. Most of it was great. I'd say most of it was great. And when I saw him live one time, and the frustrating thing about Prince, he's a total Gemini. His live sets were a demonstration of ADHD. I mean, it was like, okay, everybody wants to hear the hits, and he'll run them out in a medley. You just run them out in a medley, and he'll do 2 minutes of one tune, and then it's on to the next, and on to the next, and on to the next. And the entire presentation of the stage show was just like that. It was so frenetic. Like he was a blur. I've never seen anybody do what that guy did. He would do this one thing where, of course, he was in platform shoes. He did this one thing where he had his piano, and the piano had like a step attached to the bench that he would sit on. And of course, it was a grand piano. And he would run across the stage, hit the step on the bench, use his other foot to step on the bench itself, and then propel himself like a gymnast onto the top of the piano, where he would literally turn in the air and land on the piano sideways, and then start playing the piano while laying on top of the piano. That was Prince. He would do shit like that and be like, and then he would do it so nonchalantly, just I'm just here laying on the piano, just playing away. And like, what just happened there? And then he would move on to the next thing, and then he would get the guitar, and then he would rip off a Jimi Hendrix like solo. You'd be like, so Prince, here's what Prince was. Being the Gemini, he was part Little Richard, part Liberace, part Jimi Hendrix, part James Brown, and part Sly Stone, and all Prince. That's who Prince was. That's who he was. Right there. All right. I think we've gone through the Righteous Brothers. That was a very different time. I know, right? You couldn't even be named the Righteous Brothers now. Maybe you could. It depends on how the brothers were presented, right? Were presented. Also, part Hobbit. He had a little bit of the Hobbit in him. A little bit. You guys ever see the story where Charlie Murphy's talking about how he and his brother and I think another one of his boys ran into Prince at a club in LA? Have you guys seen this story? It's an absolutely true story. So they run into Prince at this club, and it was I don't think Rick James was there. That was a different story. By the way, Prince completely ruined Rick James. He ruined him. I'll talk about that in a second. But they run into him at this club in LA. Prince has a table. Eddie's got a table. They're kind of hanging out, blah, 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 blah. So Prince, I guess this is about 1 or 2 in the morning, basically says to Charlie Murphy and Eddie, let's go play basketball. So at about 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning, and I think it was the guy who was, what band was he in? Shalimar. It was one of the guys from Shalimar was with Prince. And it was Prince's brother. And apparently Prince's brother is really tall, unlike Prince. Very different. So those 3 guys, it was against Eddie Murphy, Charlie Murphy, and somebody else. I think maybe Eddie's cousin or something. So they go and play basketball. And Prince apparently is like freaking Michael Jordan. And he's playing in platform shoes. And he's completely schooling Eddie and Charlie and their cousin. It's a true story. That they go out to Santa Monica and they're playing basketball 1:30 in the morning. And Prince's threesome, right, of him, the guy from Shalimar, and his brother, just cleaned up the Murphy crew. And then they went back to Prince's mansion and or place and had blueberry pancakes. There you go. Shirts versus blouses. Oh, that is classic, Miranda. That is classic. That's a true story. The guy from Shalimar talks about it. It's a totally true story. And Prince. So Rick James, Prince got kicked off of the Rolling Stones tour. Well, he didn't get kicked off. He didn't get kicked off. What happened is that, and this is really unfortunate, is that Prince was opening for the Stones. And, that was when he was in his, Dirty Mind lingerie phase, and the people booed him off the stage. Like they were at the Hollywood Bowl, I think, in LA. And I think the Stones were there for 2 or 3 nights. And the first night they booed him off the stage, and Prince was just crushed. He was totally crushed. And because he's a very sensitive guy, it really devastated him. And so Mick Jagger called him up and said, look, come back onto the tour. Come back onto the tour. We'll make sure it's okay. And it didn't get any better. And so he left. He left the tour. So Rick James decided who was at that time more popular than Prince, he decided to step in and say, okay, I'm gonna bring the young brother on tour with me. So Rick James brings Prince on tour with him. And then what happens is that Rick James begins to see that Prince is a genius. And while Rick James was really, really good, he was no Prince. And then what happens is that they get into this rivalry, right? So Prince has an all-girl group, and then Rick James has an all-girl group, the Mary Jane Girls, and they're kind of in this sort of battle, right? And Rick James begins to spiral pretty much out of control. Like he really starts to lose his shit because he realizes that Prince is better than he is, and he couldn't handle it. He could not handle it. And then he winds up eventually going to jail. Mike Judge has a really interesting video that he did on this. It's like an animated video of the members of Prince's band. I'm sorry, Rick James's band. If you haven't seen it, it's really good. They get into this. And then Rick James goes to prison. And apparently Rick James even had a recording studio in prison. But it wasn't enough. And when he came out of prison, he said, we're going to get the band back together. But, he was too far gone. His demons were too deep. And Rick James checked out. All right. Here we go. Jagger was styled after Marilyn Monroe. Have you guys seen the latest? I'm going to play it. I'd like to have a feel-good video at the end. So, listen what Jennifer says. Prince crashed my dinner in Santa Monica, and a model wanted to beat me up because of jealousy. Interesting. I believe it. I believe it. You were on Prince's list. You were on Prince's list. That's interesting. I was at a nightclub in San Francisco, the aforementioned Fab Mab, the Mabuhay Gardens. And we're hanging out there. I forget who was playing. And all of a sudden, Rick James walks in. Like he walks in. I wouldn't say walk. That would be an understatement. He storms in. He storms into the club. He's got about 5 guys with him. They're all wearing trench coats, by the way. It was like his gang. And I have to say, Rick James was not that tall. He might have been maybe 5'8" or 5'9". He was taller than Prince. He comes storming in there because he's looking for this bartender, this female bartender who works at the club. She wasn't there that night. And that was on Broadway, the Mabuhay. So his posse on Broadway came right into the club. It's like, hey, that's Rick James. That's Rick James. What's he doing here? And he left. Let's see. What else do we have? Did the official story of Prince's death make sense? It was weird. It was very, very weird. You know what else is really weird? is that the same conditions that Prince was experiencing while he was in these planes, because he was having trouble with his body. It had to do with altitude. Like the same physical conditions he was experiencing, Lil Wayne started to experience very similar things, which a lot of people don't talk about. It's like, that's odd. Like, what's going on? What's going on with the planes? Or why are both these guys having these same experiences? I think Prince is gone. I think he's gone. I don't think it was faked. I don't think it was faked. The interesting thing about Prince, of course, he died on the Queen's birthday. And he died 202 days before Donald Trump was won the presidency of the United States. 202 days. May 21st, November 9th, if I'm not mistaken. 202 days. And that was the day they started the Purple Revolution. Oh, is David in the house? Is David here? What's going on, David? Back when SF was badass and had great clubs. Now it's like opium den again from 1900. My Astro bro, David Palmer in the house. Nice to see you, David. Yeah, San Francisco had some incredible clubs. There was a club there called The Stone, which was on Broadway. It was a great club. I saw Split Ends there. Phenomenal show, by the way. God, I really miss those days. I miss music in that capacity. And this is one of let's bring it front and center. This is one of the great crimes that's being perpetrated against us right now. Is the fact that we're being denied the ability for people to congregate and listen to music and enjoy music in public together. This is one of the great crimes of the lockdown, the coronavirus, and the so-called Great Reset. The absolute and utter sin of the Great Reset and the Fourth Industrial Revolution is that it is without imagination and creativity. It is without imagination and creativity. Period. Bar none. People need to get together. They need to listen to music. They need to be able to dance. They need to be able to sing. Like I was at a restaurant here about a month ago, and they have a guy on Friday nights who does karaoke. He's really good. This guy is really talented. He's like this big cowboy. I mean, he's really big. He's got the karaoke thing going on, and he can fucking sing. Like, this guy can sing. I mean, you look at him, you're thinking, oh, he's like a clown, right? But he was not a clown. This guy has got some pipes. He's even singing along in Spanish, and he's really great. And the people were going nuts. It was like they were so thirsty and starved for some kind of live communion that this karaoke moment in time was really like the equivalent of, I don't know what Bruce Springsteen, I don't know, Brad Paisley, who knows? But it was like that, right? It was like that level. And it was just a little karaoke thing at a steakhouse. The karaoke was better than the steak, I have to say. I was not that impressed with the steak. All right. Electric Flag, Charles Lloyd. I love Charles Lloyd. I love the Charles Lloyd Quartet. I'll never forget the first time I discovered that Live at Fillmore record and heard Forest Flower for the first time. I was done. It was like, I was just like, oh man, it's so beautiful. Keith Jarrett on piano. Now we're going deep. We're going into Charles Lloyd territory. Oh, okay. My father's a jazz musician and hasn't played live this year. He's been doing it all over Zoom. It's really, come on. This Zoom shit is like, you know what it is? It's sort of, it's like an incubator for virtual reality. Bad. It was a bad steak. I'm telling you, it was a bad steak. When I make a steak, it's better. That steak was a mistake. The karaoke was way better than the steak. Go for the karaoke. Skip the steak. What were we talking about? Or something. What was it? Music, Charles Lloyd. Oh. Right. All right. Okay. I'm going to drop this one more music thing, then we'll get into some of this other stuff. The first Bobby McFerrin record is really good. Really good. There is a track on there called The Sightless Bird. If you want to feel really uplifted and inspired, Bobby McFerrin, Pisces, by the way. He's a good Pisces. That is a phenomenal song. Go find it on YouTube. If you feel down, just listen to that tune. It will really uplift you. Really uplift you. An extensive ECM detour. Oh, don't get me started. Do not get me started on ECM. I was an ECM junkie. I loved ECM. Huge. Big ECM fan. The first Steve Tibbetts record on ECM. Amazing. Really amazing. Okay. All right. Let's have a little. Man, you could just go find that Bobby McFerrin song, "Sightless Bird." Oh my God, it's incredible. And he does. You know what he does at the end? He drops into overtone singing at the end. Beautiful. Dang, spaced out, Robert. What tune? "Sightless Bird." Bobby McFerrin, first record. It's a really good record. He does a great version of Moondance by Van Morrison. Like, covers aren't always a good thing. Like, you could really fuck up a cover. But he takes Moondance to another level. Sightless Bird. Yep. All right, here we go. It's Jan Hammer time. Don't get me started now. Sigurd, every time I go to like transition into the actual show versus the prologue, Sigurd brings something up and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go in this direction now. By the way, this magic wand that I hold in my hand, courtesy of one Joe Mama, who gifted me with this magic wand for my birthday. So thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. I'm wielding it today. Look at that. Mark even drops the Bobby McFerrin track in there. You are the man. All right, let's do this. I want to get into the Biden Zoom, which is really a trip. And I don't know how I missed this thing. It was 8 days ago. It's really a trip. All right, here we go. We'll get into that and a few other things. All right, here we go. Dear blessed and holy Mother, Father God of the great central sun, within the universal light, which is the light of Yeshua, Sananda Emmanuel, we give you this time to bring forth the highest and best information, wisdom, intelligence, and truth to each and every one of us participating in this stream at this time and beyond. And I just today want to just give thanks for the spirit of community and joy and communion and fellowship and brotherhood and sisterhood. I just want to give thanks and affirm and decree that here and now, that we may celebrate it and bring it forth into the days, weeks, and months to come. And that this is our time, this is our space, and this is our new foundation, building bridges with one another as all boats rise. Any karmic residue that is needing to be cleansed, purified, clarified, and removed, let it be done. Here we go. All right. So this Biden thing, I'm going to find you this Biden thing. It is really a trip. I don't know how it got past me, because I'm pretty hawk-like when it comes to some of this shit. And what's really interesting is I got to show you something here. Now, I'm not going to take this personally. I should not take this personally. I should not sign a meaning or a value to this, but you know what? I'm kind of going to do it. Let me show you. So when I go to YouTube now, there's a blank space there. Do you know what used to be in that blank space? My videos. My videos used to be in that blank space. And now that video or that blank space, well, it's a black hole now. And most of the time I was able to see like my last video. Like it's gone now. When you go to YouTube, and just type in YouTube, you don't have to do it now. But you tell me if you've got that blank space. I bet you don't. That's my thought. All right, so let me get into this thing here. This Biden Zoom meeting. This is a mind blower. This is a total mind blower. Okay. So this is him, and this is his call with civil rights leaders, and I believe Al Sharpton. It's kind of like a Zoom version of Hollywood Squares. And Al Sharpton is not in the center. The center is being held down by Joe and Camel Toe. So here it is. Okay, so this is the format. Now, I'm going to kind of skip through this a little bit. And I'm going to play you this one excerpt. Now, what's interesting about this is that listen to Biden's tone. What's interesting is that he does not sound like, at times he does, but he doesn't sound like the Robotoid version of Joe. And his tone in this video is like taking control. He is taking control in this video. He is telling these people what he is going to do. And this was leaked on purpose for a number of different reasons. And I'll share what I think those reasons are as we kind of go through the video. Okay, so let's do this.
Leadership and support. You've rallied support against some of Trump's most dangerous actions, his failure to contain the pandemic and the mass casualty event it's caused in the Black community, his embrace of white supremacy that's been just straight out and continues, his attack on the ACA, which affects so many African Americans, his incitement of violence against peaceful social justice.
All right, this dude here is like, okay, show me. This is the show me guy right here. Look at him.
Protesters, removing diversity and inclusion awareness policies across the federal government. And you've successfully litigated voting rights cases while the right to vote has been under more severe attack than equal.
Okay, blah, blah, blah. Let's get into some of this.
Of racial justice and the professional qualifications are at the big table in the deliberations and the discussions on all issues. We want to affirm that as Americans, every issue is an African-American issue. Some issues are of greater importance than others, but every issue is an African-American issue. I will say as I began, and then I'll be coming back later with some specific suggestions when it comes to racial justice.
Let's get into the Joe stuff.
America, when they actually embrace the opportunities of diversity, when they actually understand the importance of.
So they're all going around laying out what they want.
Amos don't claim anything that's successful that's in proximity of him, and we love.
I've had the pleasure of knowing from his role in Congressional Black Caucus and others, and know that we're looking forward to that.
She's up here.
As we
right.
move forward.
We're going around.
I'm now in ICU. So I asked that as the task force looks at all the things that they have to look at, look closely.
Okay, keep going.
To working with you both.
All right, here we go.
In these cases,
now it's her turn.
So many of these cases target Black voters, and
okay, here we go.
And is a tool that can move up to higher level
lead this agency.
It's her turn.
Who has a demonstrated commitment to and experience in civil rights and criminal justice. And
So
it underboards
they're basically saying, you know, they each have their own piece of the pie. And this is the piece of the pie that they are kind of staking out with Biden. All right, Biden and Harris.
About diversity, race, and history among anyone who contracts with the federal government. The Legal Defense Fund of my organization filed suit. We represent the National Urban League in challenging that executive order. Already it's having an effect on so many who feel silenced in this period.
So basically the executive order she's talking about is the executive order that Trump mandated to end the white fragility training in government, in government, period, federal government, period. Like the diversity stuff, he just shit canned it. So this is what she's talking about. She's like, we've got to start this back up again. All right, let's keep going.
And who feel fear in criminal justice, which is your police departments.
Okay.
I've spoken to both of you.
Now here comes Sharpton. All right, he's chiming in.
Also,
just going along.
Towards proper policing and understand.
Okay, going along.
We talked about voting.
More Sharpton. Okay.
And allowing for the input necessary. 10 more appointments to go.
Now we're back to this guy.
Community, I get a little.
If I can't say what I believe.
All right.
I didn't want to run this.
All right, here we go. Here comes
Number
Biden.
2, I mean what I say when.
Hold on, here we go.
The president and vice president-elect to close us out.
Here we go.
Derek, you're muted.
You're muted, Derek.
I'm there. President-elect, you've mentioned more than once how thought they would have seen at this point.
Racist son of a gun who was president of the United States of America. That's why I ran. And you'll remember, a lot of you told me, talking about the soul of America was going over people's heads. They didn't know what we're talking about. The words of a president matter. What a president says matters. And you've never seen me shy away. In the middle of the debate, I called him a racist. In the middle of the debate with him, I took on white supremacists. I'm the guy that took on every single time somebody was threatened in this country. The only white boy you know who did it, period. Out there, every single time. So look, all I'm saying here is, guys and ladies, we're on the same exact page. The same exact page. We talked about closing the racial wealth gap. That's the single biggest thing I want to get done. It's the ultimate equalizer, no matter what else happens. Because I plan on spending over $15 billion to provide for opportunity for young Black entrepreneurs to get them off the ground, Black farmers to be able to own their own property, young people being able to get their first $15,000 down payment on a home, making sure that they have an opportunity to gain wealth. We can do all of
Now, how's he going to do that when Klaus Schwab is basically taking their first home that they're getting $15,000 for? That doesn't make a lot of sense. Let's keep going.
The rest of this, unless the Black community is able to make up the wealth gap, in my humble opinion, is real trouble. I support same-day registration. I'm the guy that extended the Voting Rights Act for 25 years.
So he's laying his cred out now. He's laying his cred out.
That no one goes to prison for a drug offense. Nobody. They go into rehabilitation. Rehabilitation. That's what we should be building, rehabilitation centers, not more prisons. I have a $20 billion effort that I'm preparing.
And it's like, well, why don't we stop the fucking drugs from coming into the country? Why don't we stop China from importing huge amounts of fentanyl and OxyContin through Mexico? Why don't we stop the Mexican drug cartels from making drugs so available? And why don't we stop the inner city and urban economy that is based on the distribution of these drugs? By the way, it's not just the inner city and urban economy, but it shows up there a lot. So why don't we stop those things? No, we're not talking about that.
proposing to get states to change their sentencing guidelines so that there is no more mandatory sentences across the board. In addition to that, we're talking about having diversity hiring in every agency. I promise you that is going to happen. We're just getting started here. Police reform, judicial reform.
He's sounding a little exasperated already, isn't he? He's sounding a little exasperated, and he's about to go into some Joe-splaining here.
Look, you know, when I was, if you notice, when I was chairman of the Judiciary Committee and when I was advising the president, who did we get on the court? We got on a woman who worked for me, became a member of the Supreme Court. Another woman who was a leading Hispanic in America no one paid attention to is on the court. All the people that I pushed on the court have been really pro-civil rights judges across the board. And I, like you, the idea, Kristen, that everybody has to be a prosecutor. I'm a public defender. When I'm president of the United States of America.
Actually, he's a public offender.
Because it'll get out, and guess what? I can't defend them. They're going to be out there by themselves without any defense before their name. They're going to get ripped to shreds. That's why I'm going to wait. You will be pleased, I believe. You will be pleased to see there'll be more African Americans in major positions within a cabinet in major spots and more Hispanics in major spots than ever in American history. That's going to happen. I promise you that. And the other thing is, for example, thus far, you know, for example, when we went ahead and we made sure that, you know, I have as, the Secretary of Treasury, Janet Yellen, but at number 2 is Wally Adeyemo, an African American, who is the number 2 guy with real authority.
So he is like virtue signaling as much as he can, right? That's what's happening, right? You're trying to allay their fears.
I think you're going to see, I always kid Kamala by say this, but we're going to have more women than men, as it's looking like now. Okay, that's good because I'm surrounded by women smarter than me, starting off with my wife and my sister. But all kidding aside, this is going to.
That's not too hard.
I got it wrong. But my overarching objective, if we cannot make significant progress on racial equity, this country is doomed. It is doomed.
Listen to this.
Because of African Americans, but because by 2040, this country is going to be minority white European. You hear me? Minority white European. And you guys are going to have to start working more with Hispanics, who make up a larger portion of the population than y'all do.
So now he's into race-splaining. Like this is the meat of this whole thing. He is race-splaining. You're going to have to start working together with Hispanics. And then he throws in the y'all, because we all know that Joe Biden comes from the South. Oh, yeah, right. Here we go.
In terms of raw numbers, we're going to have to be working with a whole group of people that, in fact, are the single most diverse democracy in American history and anywhere in the world. And we got to figure out how to unify this country.
Well, you know what? I will say that he is not wrong there. He is not wrong about how to unify it, but the model that he's using for unification ultimately is supplication, and it is not necessarily, it's unification based on a certain model. It is their model, right? It is his model, and ultimately, I don't think it's quite unifying. They think it's unifying because what they will do, what Biden and Kamala Harris will do, is that they will try to unify this thing from a different perspective, the social justice perspective, right? Civil rights, equity-based outcomes. That will be the unifying rallying cry, not the unifying theme that we're all created equal. By the way, all created equal simply means that we're all created by the Procreative Act equally. It doesn't mean that we're born equal. That's a whole different discussion. We're all created equal. We have certain inalienable rights, and these certain inalienable rights, if they are actually followed out to the letter of their original intention in law, work pretty well. But not for this group, because that flies in the face of social justice. And in the social justice universe, it is equity-based outcomes and not equality that is the unifying principle. All right, here we go.
And you've been the leaders of being able to do that. Not a joke. And so there's some things that I'm going to be able to do by executive order. I'm not going to hesitate to do it. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to do what Benita, you probably used to get angry with me during the debates.
Okay, so here's where I think the leaked part of the video, this is where I think why the video was leaked. Listen to this.
When you'd have some of the people you were supporting said, on day one, I'm going to executive order to do this. Not within the constitutional authority. I am not going to violate the Constitution.
Did you hear that? That is not for these people. That is for the people who are kind of on the fence to where the video was leaked to and for.
Executive authority that my progressive friends talk about is way beyond the bounds. And as
now, how do you think that? Now, how do you think it's making them feel? How do you think that's making Kamala feel? She doesn't care. She's a full-on commie. She's not a socialist. She's a commie. All right, here we go. Commie Harris.
One of you said, maybe you, Reverend, now, whether it's far left or far right, there is a Constitution. It's our only hope.
So he's putting Al Sharpton on blast right now. You see, okay, so this is a power game. And remember, whoever this character or version of Biden is, he's a Scorpio. He understands power. So he's not addressing her or him or him or him. Who is the alpha in this Hollywood Squares format? It's Al Sharpton. And he's basically saying, Al, you know how important the Constitution is. So he's coming in over the top of Sharpton. And again, now, if you're looking at this from the outside, and you may not understand kind of what the hidden or leaked intent around this is, you know what you're saying subconsciously? Boy, Joe's got them in their place. He is putting them in their place. He has got control over the black problem. This is subconsciously, this is what you're thinking and probably what's going on in your head. Listen to this.
Our only hope. And the way to deal with it is where I have executive authority, I will use it to undo every single damn thing this guy has done by executive authority. But I'm not going to exercise executive authority where it's questioned, where I can come along and say, I can do away with assault weapons. There's no executive authority to do it.
That is meant for people who are watching this, who are thinking, gee, he's not going to come after assault weapons. He'll be okay.
That, and no one's fought harder to get rid of assault weapons than me. But you can't do it by executive order. If you do that, next guy comes along and says, well, guess what? By executive order, I'm going to say everybody can own machine guns again. So we got to be careful. I know you all know this. I know you know it. And poor Kamala's heard me say this, and so is.
This is a Scorpio. Whatever version of Biden this is a Scorpio. It is behind the scenes, set 12th house sun. Or this is behind the scenes, 12th house sun. This is how Joe Biden operates, or this version of Joe Biden.
Cedric, I used to have a friend named Bob Gold who was a
here we go.
Really bright
One of Joe's stories.
Guy, not much of it. We went to school together. He wasn't an academic whiz, but bright as hell. And as he grew up, he became very successful. And I look at him.
These guys are like, oh, God, here we go. Another fucking story.
I had a heart transplant. And about 20 years ago, I said to him, Bob, do you understand what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you understand me? He looked at me and said, Joe, I not only understand you, I overstand you. I'm sure you overstand me here. I desperately want to work with each of you.
Do you hear that? I'm sure you overstand me. It's like he can't overstate it enough.
And I promise you, you will have access to us on a regular basis. and any emergency, you'll have access to us. We got to figure out a way how to regularly see to it we can do it as a group like we're doing now.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have an opportunity to be able to go down and answer your questions. And let me just say two more things. I like HR 1 and I like HR 4, but let me tell you something. We're going to have a hell of a hard time getting that passed through a Republican Senate. So the question is, what can we do in the meantime? I'm going to push them. I'm going to push them. And by the way, you know, the whole idea of gag conversations, that ends in my administration. There's no possibility you'll hear me talking about that. There's no possibility, but what we're going to talk about is formally how we go about changing police misconduct, exposing it, keeping the records, the things I wanted to talk about with you, Ms. Campbell, where the whole idea of this task force and how we're going to deal with, you're going to see there's going to be at least 2 more major African-American women who are going to be appointed to this group that we're talking about in major positions in the White House and in the administration. You're also going to see that we're going to appoint, and I guess, let me conclude with this because I'm going to get in real trouble here in terms of my time. You know, I promise you, there will be an AG who has a significant record on dealing with civil rights. That's a guarantee. And each of the departments, you will see that as well.
All right. So one of the things that he says is that we cannot have the dialogue about defunding the police because they killed us. They killed us at the polls with that. So it's an interesting video, and it was leaked. I think it was leaked on purpose because it does a couple things. Number one, it establishes that Biden is theoretically transparent, right? Like he talks about no gag order, which one could translate into transparency. 2, it's like he really, you know, hugs that line of like race splaining in that video. Like it's really like maybe he's not even hugging the line. You know, like he's telling them, you know, what to do to get in line. You know, that this is what we're going to need to do in order to, you know, survive. And, you know, when there's a white minority, you're going to have to figure it out because those people aren't going to be around, right? I mean, it's a bizarre video, but it also is trying to get him to establish, number one, he can be trusted. Number 2, he's not going to use executive orders. Number 3, you know, he just can't go flat out and go after assault weapons. And number 4, I think the subtext is, if you really watch it, it's like, don't worry, I have the black problem under control. That is the subtext of that leaked video. If you're watching, if you're, again, on the fence, or, you know, you're thinking, okay, what's this guy going to do? Those are the takeaways. It's a bizarre video, and it was leaked on purpose as far as I'm concerned. It looks like the Brady Bunch. It does. It totally is. Yep. Joe is not going to happen. He'll be gone by 2022. Is he really our next president? Please say, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be. I don't know if he's going to be. 35 years of DC utility. The main problem stopping the hire of blacks is the initial drug and alcohol test. The frequent drug and alcohol test through 1 year of employment, CDL test, continue. That's a problem. It's a symptom, though. It's really a symptom of the problem. The problem, ultimately, and by the way, it is a problem that every single group is going to experience, and that is the obliteration of the family. It is the obliteration of the family. That is ultimately the problem. And we saw the obliteration of the Black American family take place during the 1960s, when a lot of young Black men went to go fight the Vietnam War, lost their lives, or came back fucked up, bitter, cynical, and in many cases were indoctrinated by the CIA to help them with the drug trade because there was heroin coming back in body bags. You know, Vietnam was the center of the Golden Triangle. That was one of the reasons why we were there. So why wouldn't you set up your distribution channels with people who were actually there so that when they got back from the war, well, they would be employed and have something to do. And then while they're away during the war, their mothers, their wives, their girlfriends, they're all applying for welfare because they're not there. They're applying for welfare, and now you have the state, which has gotten between them and this idea of the family, right? And you look at the statistics. There are statistics. I actually talked about this on a guy show one time. There are statistics where pre-1970s, the rate of what we would call a nuclear family in the Black community is substantially greater than a period after the late 1970s and moving into the 80s, substantially greater. And that's just one group. And we're seeing that breakdown of the family across the board now. And Klaus Schwab and, you know, the merchants behind the Great Reset, they don't want families. They don't want nuclear families. They don't even want heteronorm relationships, let alone families. And that's the problem. And because families are important, they you know, they are the glue. Even if a family's kind of fucked up, it's still important. It's still pretty important. You know, if you have the potential to be raised in a family, I didn't grow up in a great family. It was fine. I don't want to diss it too much, but there were problems, and a lot of families have problems. But my parents stayed together, even though the social forces at that time were pulling them apart. Sexual revolution, do what you want to do, right? But they stayed together, and I remember, you know, there was a time when, you know, my father wanted to leave. And I'm sorry you get choked up here, but you know, I said, you can't leave me. You can't leave me. I need you, right? I told him that. And it's important. It is important for people to like understand this. It's really important. And they've done everything in their power. And just like what they did, you know, with Margaret Sanger and the Black community and Planned Parenthood, you know, they started to put the abortion clinics inside of the inner cities, right? You go back, you look at Margaret Sanger's notes about what they wanted to do, which are incredibly eugenics based. That's where it started. But eventually that will just roll out to everybody. It'll roll out to everybody. Nobody's immune to it. And that's what we're learning now with this so-called coronavirus, that nobody is immune to the social pressure, the breakdown, the fractalization, and the atomization of our so-called society and culture. But by the way, which transcends the idea of being an American. The family unit is the unit that is organic. It's an organic unit. It is not defined by the state. It is not defined by the Christian religion, which is, you know, go forth and multiply, right? I mean, yes, it's in there, but that's not what defines it. It is a tribal unit. It's an important unit. So they've done their very best to completely decimate the Black community as a result of this. And you can see it all along the way. And the big shift, the big transition was the 1960s. It was the war on poverty. It was the Great Society. It was the Vietnam War. It was the introduction of heroin to the inner cities, and the selling and the marketing of the welfare state. So what we're seeing is the aftermath of all of that, and it's still around. And the problem is now is that it's become systemic. And now they want to do UBI. And now they want to give people $2,000, which is, what is $2,000 is mice nuts, right? So they say, well, we're going to give them 600. And there's a lot of, you know, Sturm und Drang, and there's a lot of, you know, Puffing and puffing, $600, $600. Well, what about sexual studies in Pakistan? And oh, this country's getting this much. This country's getting this much, right? So then oh well, let's cut out the pork and let's give them $2,000. Like, okay, right? But that's what they wanted probably to begin with, because they always know this shit. They always over ask. Then they slice it back and they get what they want. $2,000 is nothing. It is nothing. Nothing. It is a pittance. A pittance. So apparently there's supposedly something inside that bill where if Trump wants to, if he vetoes it, apparently it kills the Insurrection Act. I think it's somewhere in there. I can't completely validate that. I saw some tweets around that, but that's supposedly in there. It's supposedly in there. Anyway, what we're trying to deal with and what he's trying to deal with and what Biden is trying to work out is, I guess if you're, somebody who's into social justice, I guess you're looking at it like, okay, that's a start. But I just think that it is, and that's not to say that we shouldn't all be prosperous and abundant and have opportunities, but it's not government's role to do that. It is not the government's role to do that. If you want to have people be prosperous and abundant, then what you do is you basically create jobs and meaningful vocation, so that people can begin to earn and they can actually own property, because ownership is important. What those people on that screen don't understand, and what Joe Biden is not talking about, is he's not talking about AI. He's not talking about, the replacement of human capital. He's not talking about any of that stuff. He's not addressing any of that at all. He's addressing it, towards their immediate needs and what they're going to get now and what they think they can move, essentially kludge moving forward, that's going to be their mandate platform, and they're going to get what they want and need. And, and those people that are on that Zoom call, it's like, hey, look, I don't blame them. That's their philosophy. That's their ideology. That's what they believe in. That's what they went to college for. That's where their so-called heart or spirit is coming from. I don't agree with it. But that's what they're committed to, right? At least they're committed to it. At least they're committed to something. But I don't agree with it. But they're not talking about AI. They're not talking about Klaus Schwab. They're not talking about the real nuts and bolts shit. Even their progressive paradigm is ossified. It is ancient. It is ancient compared to where things are moving. Ancient. So anyway, it's an interesting leaked video. I'm surprised I didn't see it earlier. It definitely bears some scrutiny. Let's see. Biden's leopard print waterbed is filled with the tears of black children. Copyright law is in it. That's right. Yeah, Jennifer's right. There's copyright law. And if you are caught streaming something that is illegal, you can go to prison. You can go to jail. And they will liberally define what copyright law is. Trust me. By the way, if I was black, so-called African American, I would kind of find that Zoom call a little insulting. I have to say. Because there's moments there where he's like talking down, really, really talking down to those people, and I would find it, pretty offensive. I think Trump is off planet that weekend. It's like Putin. I've got to learn more about common law. Ossified progressive paradigm. Yeah, it's true. They think it's progressive. They think it's forward thinking. They have no idea what's fucking coming. Maybe Kamala does. They have no idea what's coming. They're just a transition team. That's all. It's the transition team. It's a transition ideology, and it will burn out very quickly. Very, very quickly. It's extremely insulting. Yep. Guillotine is great as long as you use it on the other wannabes too. Ashanti says, I was very insulted. If I was a part of that community, I'd be fucking pissed off. It's like, why are you telling us this? Why are you telling, you're talking down to us, saying that we have to get along with the Mexicans? What would Muhammad Ali have said? He wouldn't have said that. He would have said, if I want to associate with the Mexicans, that'll be my choice. That's what Muhammad Ali would have said. And that didn't mean that Muhammad Ali was racist against Mexicans. He didn't want anybody telling him who he should or shouldn't associate with, be with, hang out with, or have babies with. He was very clear on that. Very clear on that. That's about as far away from that as you can get. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. It's totally disgusting. But he did it on purpose. That was leaked for a reason. And, not just black government, you would need a couple of brain cells too. Yes. And while he lives in his castle, while he lives in his, 7,000 square foot mansion, one of 4 houses, we're not believing in government. Okay. The government thing is just a transition. The end game here is the technocracy. That is the transition. That is the end game, and government has no place in technocracy. And the progressives need to understand that. They are just part of the transition team. Technocracy gets around the government. There is no government. It's all ruled by systems of order. There is no dissent in the technocracy. None. She's in there. She doesn't say anything. Tessa's in the house. Hi, Tessa. The government is a gang whose purpose is extortion. Well, if they're not extorting your money, they're certainly extorting your emotions, aren't they? By the way, watch property taxes go through the roof. That's coming. You know why? Because cities and counties are going to have to cover their shortfalls. I've heard anywhere between 9 and 31%. 9 and 31%. Let's see. Yeah, progressives are just part of the transition team. That's all. And they don't know it. They don't know it. They don't know it. Unifying equals making Hispanics and blacks fight until the end of time for control of the pigmentocratic invisible welfare paddle. Wow. That's a mouthful, but it's also true. It's also very true. Up to 32% in Nashville. Look at that. 32% property tax in Nashville. Why? Because they killed the businesses. And the government needs to take care of the shortfall. Let's see. Masaki's in the house. My cousin works at Kaiser Hospital in the Bay Area. Took a COVID shot, had a bad reaction. The shit is toxic. Okay. So that's a good transition to Tiffany Dover. Yeah. Let's do that. You will be assimilated. I remember being in Philadelphia. It was Martin Luther King Day in Philadelphia. I was with a couple friends. And, of course, the local socialists and communists had their march. It was very cold that day. And they're pounding the drum for $15 an hour jobs. And I'm like, you have no idea. You have no idea what's coming. Your $15 an hour jobs will be artifacts. They'll be antiquated. They'll be antiquated notions. And there was this one guy there who was he was a white dude, and I think he was dressed like a cop, but he was like making fun of cops. He was kind of marching alone, And he's walking past me. I said, so when do the rest of the village people show up? And he actually laughed. All right, let's get into the Dover thing, which is really weird. It's very weird. So we're talking about Tiffany Dover. This is the woman who took the vaccine, I believe, in Nashville, Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken. We've seen the video. We've seen the video where it really looks like her spirit leaves her body. You see her eyes just dart off to the left, and she's gone. She's gone. So the rumor is that she is dead. And there's a lot of very strange stuff happening around them trying to prove that she's still alive. Let me just pull up a few things here. So where this is from meaew.com. I don't know what this site is about. I don't know if it's just a shit post overnight pop-up site, but let's just look at some of the pictures. Okay, so here she is. She's getting vaccinated here, and it doesn't go well. We know it doesn't go well. So this is the hospital's statement on December 17th. The blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to read it. Okay. Then soon after her on-air appearance, internet users noticed that Dover vanished from her social media accounts, sparking her death hoaxes. Since she took the jab, Dover has not been active on all her social media accounts, due to which netizens are flooding her social media pages with comments of concern, blah, blah, blah. The last post by her was made on December 14, 2020. People showed concern on her last post. As one said, I don't understand if you're still alive. How is it possible for you or your family to not say a word? People are really worried about you and the situation. Also been thinking about you several times a day. Hope you're okay. So this is supposedly, I guess, what, her post? We don't see her. What do we see? We see this. Great. Great diet, Tiffany. One Twitter user wrote, I just heard Tiffany Dover, the nurse who fainted after the COVID shot, is dead on Facebook. There is also a gag order. Her family's getting death threats. Tiffany Dover, nurse, passed out after the vaccine. They won't report a recovery because of privacy, but they will report how we should take the vaccine and trust it. So here's more posts about Tiffany Dover. Looks like it's coming from Israel. I want you to pay attention from her her face. Right? Look at her face. Just look at her face right here. All right. Nurse Tiffany Dover appreciates the concern shown for her. She's home and doing well. She asked for privacy for her and her family. So she took the vaccine and she's home and doing well. She's not at work. If you're a frontline worker and you're looking at this and you're home and doing well, do you really, really think you want to take that vaccine? Oh, apparently she fainted at the sign of needles. She's the head fucking nurse. Why does your head fucking nurse faint at the sign of needles? Like maybe there's a different gig for her. Now, what's interesting here is supposedly this is a picture of her. Supposedly. Now, what I found interesting about the picture, and I can't necessarily see it here because I can't really blow it up. Let me see if I can blow it up. Yeah, it's hard to blow up. But her ring finger, normally I saw a wedding ring on her ring finger. I don't see it in this picture. And I've tried to blow it up. If you guys can see it and I can't, then that's cool. I just can't see it. That was something I thought, oh, well, that's interesting. What's going on here? Okay, now there were some other pictures. Where is it? Here. Okay. Some other pictures. Okay, now This does not look like her. Remember I said, look at the face? Like maybe this looks more like her. You know, with this woman has a more, well, I'm not sure. This woman, though, has a more round, full face. Maybe not as round and full as this face, but it is not this face. And if this is her, it is a picture from another time. All right, what color eyes? Blue? Is there blue eyes here? I think she's got blue eyes. They look blue. They look blue there. Just check the eyes. We know what they're blue there. I don't know. Are those blue eyes? Those eyes look brown to me. I'll have to go back and look. But these eyes are definitely... What about these eyes? Can you tell? They do not look like these eyes, though. So if this is her from another time, or it's a completely different person, and this is definitely not her. Sorry. Nope. N-O, nope. And unless it's a picture from another time. So it says here, from Vegas lights to driving me 5 hours to see the horseshoe bend in the midnight light, to let me stuff my face in New Orleans. Like, when is this from? When is this from? And, you know, I'm a guy, so I notice certain things. And Tiffany Dover is a little busty. She's a little busty. Maybe not there, but she's definitely busty here. She's definitely busty here. This is not what I would call busty. Not that I'm saying, and maybe I'm just looking at this differently. I don't think this is her. I don't think this is her. I'm on the fence with this being her. This is her. So there's weird stuff going on with her Facebook page. And I'll show you the Facebook page quickly here, see if I can find it. All right, so this is from the local channel there, I believe, in Nashville. This is what they're putting up. Look at the comments here. So CHI Memorial says nurse is doing well. Okay. So this is a guy says, so would you rather believe that something has no proof whatsoever? Zero, yes, I've seen the screenshots posted in these comments, but where's the link to the credible agency? Folks said it's Tiffany Dover in the video. Okay, we're just going to see. The problem is Josh Rowe from WTVC is that you motherfuckers lie so much that we cannot believe you. And you can, you know, pound your fist on the imaginary desk as much as you like. Your credibility, unfortunately, is non-existent. So read all this. She's dead, and that is all a media ploy. If she was alive, she would have removed the mask and she would have given an interview, because her being alive and doing live interviews pushes the vaccine. But since she's dead, she can't. So they are gaslighting everyone. A pandemic, a controversial vaccine, a caring nurse who goes live to get it and let the world know that it is safe. She faints and then explains, no more news. Thousands of people of all countries concerned about her health and the effects of the vaccine, and now she wants privacy. What kind of nurse would do that to people in the terrible situation and the uncertainty we were all facing? It makes no sense if she is alive. Her attitude is very selfish and disappointing. If you want privacy, don't go out live and promote a vaccine. She's kind of right. Where's Tiffany Dover? Why is the hospital answering her tweets? Why is her family being threatened to be quiet? Just hearing about, but common sense would say, don't use the nurse on camera. That faints when she gets shots. Guess what? There are people that can actually think. She's dead. They hide it because it is negative publicity. They should let her do the interview. Let us know she's okay. So you faint often. How do you perform your job duty safely? Also, if it's a constant condition, Don't you know what the symptoms are before you faint? To me, you seem confused, like it was a new experience, not an ongoing condition. It is a good thing she's not a surgeon if she faints so often. I know if I got the COVID vaccine and fainted on live TV, I would definitely post a video showing after that I'm good and feel fine. Why can't Tiffany Dover herself end the conspiracy? She asking for privacy? Why? Unfortunately, this is not proof that she is doing well. Where is she? We are in Poland. We in Poland also are sure that this woman is not alive. We don't want to take the vaccine. Only 20% of they got a problem with the vaccine. Oh, great. All right. Where is she? Still at home? Come to work today, tomorrow, maybe? I have to say to conspiracy theorists that this is a real embarrassment for the media in all countries. I mean, consistently. One person can reassure everyone her name is Tiffany Pontus Dover. You don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to do this. She definitely has passed. Go on Instagram. There's a memorial page. All those people who claim to be her friend that were standing there on those stairs should be ashamed of themselves. There's rumors she's dead because people dug up a death record. Her profile is no longer on Facebook. Instagram was the last activity on December 14th. It just goes on and on and on. No, she doesn't look like the same person. It's not the same person. They're probably trying to figure out how to, program the deep fake video. Bring on the deep fake technology. Why take a shot if you're working? Nothing makes sense around any of it, except the fact that when she passed out, I saw her leave. I saw her leave her body with her eyes. You can see it. It's visible. It's totally visible. Anyway. There you go. The Tiffany Dover conspiracy. The spending stimulus package, it's a total. We talked about it yesterday. They're just basically raiding whatever's left out of the fiat money system and sending it around to a bunch of, bullshit places where the money can be laundered, be circulated back into wherever they want to spend the money, use the money. So it's absolutely utterly ridiculous that we've had to get this far. It's never have happened. Never have happened. Never have happened. They could have stopped this nonsense in the first 30 days. Shut it all down. By the way, Deborah Birx is retired. Did you know that? Why did she retire? Because she was busted. She kept telling people, stay home, stay home, stay home, stay home, stay home. Don't travel, don't travel. And guess what? She was caught traveling. She was caught traveling. She said she was going to winterize her house. Well, she's resigned. Deborah Birx is retired. Good. I hope we never see you again. You've done enough damage. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You want to see the video of her passing out? Okay. I'll tee it up. Let's see if YouTube will be compliant. Here we go. All right. So the things to notice, obviously, all right, she's got blue eyes here. That's good to know. So we can confirm that. We got the 33 on the mic, channel 3 times 2. That's there. Okay. Watch the eyes. Watch the eyes. Here we go.
It's Tiffany Dover.
Hold on.
FANYDOVER.
What unit do you work in?
CCU.
So I guess just talk to us a little bit about what just happened after passing out.
Okay. So I had a syncopal episode. I have a history of having an overactive.
Oh, this is the explanation. She looks like she's a little mind controlled there. That's interesting. Oh, let me go back to the original video. We'll go back to this. All right, here we go. Here we go. This is the original video.
A nurse is vaccinated, but just minutes later, this happens.
I'm sorry.
Tiffany Dope.
Okay, so this is not what we want. They took out the part with the eyes. Like that is like the critical part. Let me go back here. You got to see the eyes. The eyes have it. Hold on. You know, I think it's on my Twitter feed. Hold on. Let me go to my Twitter feed. By the way, David Knight is back on the air. I watched him yesterday. Had some interesting things to say about Alex Jones. All right, here it is. Looks like, let me do the stop share. Hold on. Oh, it's not the one. Fuck. Sorry, I'll get this right. Have faith in me. I will deliver us to my Twitter page. Okay, where is it? Okay. Let me see if this is it. No. Fuck. Oh, I'm just going to close all my other Twitter shit. I apologize. Give me 1 sec. That's gone. All right, that's it. We take this out. That's it. Okay, there's only one option now. Here we go. All right, this is the video. Tiffany Dover, away we go.
I did, yes. So, all of my staff, we are excited to get the vaccine. We are in the COVID unit, so therefore, my team will be getting first chances to get the vaccine. And I know that it's really...
Watch the eyes. Get out of here. Watch the eyes.
I'm sorry, I'm feeling really dizzy.
Here we go. There. Right there. Right there. Look at what's happening here. That person is checking out.
I'm sorry.
If she had the vaccine, then why are they all wearing the mask? That's the other thing. Why are they wearing a mask if she's had the vaccine? That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. So there you go. The mystery of Tiffany Dover deepens. Okay. So tell you what, tomorrow I'm going to go back to the video. I'm going to put together a few more videos on her, but I got to go. I'm sure you guys got to go, but I want to leave you a little bit of humor today. Okay. A little bit of humor. So I thought about this. I thought about, if we move into the socially progressive transition team, like what TV shows from the past could make it, maybe be revived or not revived. And I came up with a brief list of shows that I think could be repurposed for the new paradigm. So let me show you a few of those. The first show that I think they could potentially bring back is Green Acres. Now, Green Acres has some real potential here. If you don't know about Green Acres, it was the story of Eddie Albert and Eva Gabor. They are from New York City, and they go to a little town that's outside of Petticoat Junction so that they can start an agrarian existence. They're the city slickers that come to the country and are generally outfoxed and sort of, how shall we say it, made to look like the real bumpkins. Like Eddie Albert winds up looking like the real bumpkin. Eva Gabor is kind of cool with it. She kind of rolls with it, but it's really the heart and soul of the denizens of Green Acres who are almost always putting Eddie Albert in his place. Now, this show has some possibility. They could bring Green Acres back and turn it into an environmentally conscious and aware situation comedy where green has to do with renewable energy. And so this couple, of course, they could not be Eddie Albert and Eva Gabor. Like, that's just too, let's just say it's too white. So they'd have to be, or, some other representation. They just have to be. But the idea could be translated so that Green Acres is about bringing solar energy, wind, renewables into the heart of America. It would be recast, respun. And in this version of Green Acres, it would be truly green. So Green Acres has a future. It just needs a little bit of, how shall we say, modernization. Okay. The Beverly Hillbillies. Now, you would think that the Beverly Hillbillies would not make it. I would say the Beverly Hillbillies has tremendous potential. Tremendous potential. You could bring back the Beverly Hillbillies, but you would have to change the entire narrative of the show. Because in the new version of the Beverly Hillbillies lose their mansion and they are forced to go back to whatever podunk they came out of and discovered oil at. And of course, their mansion would be part of a ongoing, conscious and aware redistribution of wealth. So they would really no longer be the Beverly Hillbillies. They would just be the Hillbillies. Returning them to the place from whence they came. There's great potential for recasting this show. And of course, the spinoff, which would be the new Beverly Hillbillies. And then you could have Eddie Murphy be in the place, and he could be the Beverly Hills cop who is now, occupying the place where the Beverly Hillbillies used to be. So you could connect the Beverly Hills cop and Eddie Murphy career resurgence. So you have the spinoff. So the Beverly Hillbillies has potential, only they can't be the Beverly Hillbillies anymore. They just have to be the Hillbillies. Now, one show that I thought posed some problems was Good Times. Like, I really liked Good Times. I enjoyed watching Good Times. I watched Good Times whenever it came on. I watched Good Times because of Jimmy Walker. I thought he was really funny. Really funny. And, there were lessons in Good Times that I actually really, as a kid, I kind of liked. I liked the fact that they were a family. They were working hard. Right? Well, I don't think Good Times makes it. I don't think Good Times makes it. I don't think it makes the cut for the Cultural Revolution. In order for Good Times to make it, I think James has to go. James cannot be there. He cannot be there. The rest of the cast, probably okay. Right? But it gets down to the family unit again and the obliteration of the family unit. And that's what Good Times represented. Right? Through tough times, through hard times, I found the good times. And I love John Amos. By the way, he used to play pro football briefly. And Esther Roll with the gap tooth, you love Florida. She was awesome. Totally awesome. Unfortunately, I don't think Good Times makes the cut. Unless, of course, there is no John Amos. In which case, I think maybe it can. And then it's really Good Times. What about My Three Sons? I thought about My Three Sons. I don't think My Three Sons makes it. Unless there's a change to My Three Sons. My Three Sons doesn't really make it. Unless it's My Three Gay Sons. If it's My Three Gay Sons, then this has the potential of being a smash hit. An absolute smash hit. And Uncle Charlie could be more like Uncle Ernie from Tommy. Right? You recast My Three Sons as My Three Gay Sons. I think that this could really, this could have a place when the new cultural paradigm takes over. That, what's interesting is it's Ernie, right? Wasn't Ernie left behind by his neighbors or some shit like that? I think he was left behind by his neighbors. That's Charles Martin Smith, by the way. Just watch the show. Fred McMurray, the solid dad. It makes it, but only if it's My Three Gay Sons. I'll tell you a show that I think has incredible promise. And really, I think they gave up on much too early. So if we're talking transhumanism and the Fourth Industrial Revolution, this is the one show that I think has tremendous potential. Absolutely tremendous potential. And that show is My Mother, the Car. Remember that show? My Mother, the Car? If you don't remember My Mother, the Car, let me show it to you. My Mother, the Car. There it is. Yes, Jerry Van Dyke, the brother of Dick Van Dyke, the spirit of his mother is in this car. And the car talks to him, communicates with him. life lessons. Well, you've seen the commercials with Motor, where he's half man and half motorcycle. My Mother the Car has tremendous potential to be a transhumanist hit sitcom in the new paradigm. That's one I think they should definitely resurrect. Definitely resurrect. I thought about Leave It to Beaver, but I think it would have to be more like Beaver is a sex worker, and it's about the journey of a sex worker. Leave It to Beaver, and the sex worker has an absolute stellar career path, interesting life, rags to riches stories. Pygmalion. It's like Pygmalion meets Leave It to Beaver, but the beaver has a whole different connotation. All right, I'm out of here. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. No, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was written by Ian Fleming, and My Mother the Car came after Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. My Mother the Car sounds like a preconditioning. I know, right? It's total. It was way ahead of its time. My Mother the Car was way ahead of its time. I'll tell you another show that could be brought back is The Ghost and Mrs. Muir. That's a show that it was really, I think, held back by the censors. Think of the possibility of Mrs. Muir having a real supernatural relationship with the ghost. Think about that. Now that's got possibilities, right? When Mrs. Muir and the ghost kind of, pull the veil aside, I think that's perfect for Netflix. I think there was a show, Donna Floor, The Two Husbands of Donna Floor. That's where Sonia Braga is having sex with a ghost. I think it's in there too. Yeah. All right, I'm out of here. My Favorite Martian, Ray Walston, right? Yeah, it was an odd show. My Favorite Martian, really was very odd show. Bill Bixby winds up being the Incredible Hulk, right? And if I'm not mistaken, he was an astronaut in My Favorite Martian, wasn't he? Wasn't Bill Bixby an astronaut in that movie? And wasn't Dr. Bruce Banner an astronaut too, who winds up getting hit by gamma rays? The Man from Atlantis, Patrick Duffy. It would be the Woman from Atlantis now. It would not be the Man from Atlantis. It would be the Woman from Atlantis, or the Trans from Atlantis, which brings up interesting possibilities. Like, you got the part man, part fish thing going on. The merman. He'd be a merman. That's who the Man from Atlantis would be. He'd be the merman from Atlantis. The Courtship of Eddie's Father, depressing downer. I didn't like that show. I did not like that show. James Kovac produced that. I'm out of here. All right. Use your head in order to discern what's real. Your heart said what's possible. No show on Friday. No show on Sunday night. But we'll be back here tomorrow. Take good care. Keep your head in the swivel. Love you all. Bye for now.